Now it's up 7 times more than it was a year ago. Think of it, 7 times more. Our border's been abolished and illegal aliens are pouring into our country by the millions and millions and millions, and we don't even know where the hell they're coming from. We know nothing about it, but you're going to pay a big price.
You are going to pay a big price. That was Donald Trump over the weekend in Florence, Arizona. Behind him, and I've heard already complaints of people saying, do you see how they staged that event? Now, this is assuming the Democrats never stage an event. If you're watching on YouTube, LarryConnersUSA YouTube channel, LarryConnersUSA YouTube channel. We're live now, and you saw then, and if you haven't switched over, do so now. There were many who were standing behind him of color, in particular black, wearing white T-shirts, reading "Blacks for Trump." That had to irritate, absolutely had to irritate Democrats who believe blacks who follow Trump. They're Uncle Toms. They're misled. They've gotten off the plantation. We got to bring them back. As if they are your chattel. They think for themselves. The blacks who are against Trump, they're thinking for themselves. They're allowed to do that in this country. But let me point out something that was seen not just by Trump's appearance and statement, which, by the way, there was something that was expected to happen at that session, that Arizona meeting a moment ago. That did not happen. I'm going to explain that in a little bit later. But I'm looking at a new poll here. This one is, let me make sure. I always want to try and make sure I give you the right source. Gallup. I thought it was. I just want to verify. Gallup findings based on 12,000. That's a pretty good size sample. 12,000 adults contacted through 2021. Not just one small frame of time, but over the last year. And the Gallup poll found the nation moved away from Democrat Party and towards the GOP by 14 points. 14 points. Now, why do you think that would happen? Many of the things you just heard listed by President Trump of what has happened in this country and where we're going and where we don't seem to have any understanding of what we're doing, and even beyond our own border. We'll come back to that as well. It's 25 years since the GOP has held a 5-point lead over Democrats. 5-point lead for the first time in 25 years. Now, in the beginning of 2021, according to this Gallup survey, 49% identified themselves as Democrats. 2021, of course, Biden was coming into office. 40% said they were Republicans. And there no doubt were some Republicans who defected and voted for Biden or didn't vote at all because they didn't like Trump. But at the end of 2021, 47% said they were Republicans. And only 42% said Democrat. That's a 14-point shift for the GOP. They're based on quarterly averages. But what we're looking at is that it all comes down to the failure of the Biden administration in 1 year. 1 year. Look what he's done. You just heard Trump go through a litany of things. We knew he might be bad. We didn't expect it to be this bad. Listen. Have you ever eaten a fruitcake? I shudder to think about eating one myself. If people give you a fruitcake for Christmas or some holiday, you know what I use it for? A doorstop. A doorstop. Mike's the Greek in there. He does the same thing. I'm not going to eat that thing. But if I eat it, I will find out it's worse than I imagined. Now, I know some of you, oh, I love fruitcakes. I love fruitcake. Good for you. Good for you. We do have our differences. But these numbers based on quarterly averages show that, as Trump was saying, Biden turning out to be worse than we imagined by everything he's done. I don't mean worse because he can't seem to hold two sentences together. I don't mean worse because he gets lost when he worries he's supposed to go to the White House. I don't mean that he's just simply lost totally and unfortunately might actually be battling a beginning form or a deepening form of Alzheimer's or something of that nature. And for that, I feel for him. In fact, I pray for him. But that's not what we want for our leader of this nation. Nor is the person right behind him one heartbeat away waiting to step in. And the Democrats also recognize that. She is not going to be capable. They cannot go that direction either. So what are they going to do? They got 2022 coming up. 25 Democrats have already said, we're out of here. You know why they're walking away primarily, if they will really admit it? I can't win based on the Biden activities and what he's done. I can't win. And the other day, if you want to see something that clearly explains what happened, the other day when Biden goes down to the state of Georgia, along with VP Harris, to talk about the state of Georgia is trying to deny people the right to vote, especially those of color, and trying to restrict voting, which is a lie. And they know it too. They know it's a lie. But see, they think you're stupid enough that you will buy it because it's got to be anti-racism. I ask again, bring me the law, the specific wording of the law that says you're not going to be allowed to vote because of your color. Show me that. Bring one to me. It says you cannot vote if you don't have voter ID. You can't get into a New York restaurant or a theater on Broadway if you don't have a Vax card and a voter ID to prove it's you. Voting is certainly a lot more important than where you go to eat your dinner or even a Broadway play. Would you not agree? Let's go back to Trump in Arizona over this last weekend. He says it's not just that he's proven to be worse than what we thought in many ways. It's what he has done to our U.S. world image. Listen.
Biden has utterly humiliated our nation on the world stage. Putin is not only threatening Ukraine. I don't know if you've been reading about this, but now he's threatening to go into Cuba and Venezuela. That's a lack of respect, and we never had that problem, did we? There was no problem with Putin in Ukraine. There was no problem with President Xi in Taiwan. China, Russia, and Iran are engaging in aggression and provocations they never would have dared do just 1 year ago. They would never have done any of this. They're toying with us. They're toying with us. That's exactly what's happening.
And why? Because they know they can and they get away with it. Because Biden is too weak to deal with them. He's basically taken our military and turned it into a gathering, and with all due respect, and I used to be one, he's taken our military and turned it into nothing more powerful than a pack of weeblos. Scouts, Boy Scouts, early Scouts. And it's a shame because we got men and women out there that are serving this country and proudly serving it. I just remembered I'm wearing this shirt today, Semper Fi, and I actually forgot. If you're watching, you see it, but I was grabbing a shirt today on the way out, and I grabbed it, and I had a doctor's appointment, and I had forgotten I had that shirt on. And I walked after the doctor's appointment back to the elevator, and there's a man standing there that was probably 20 years my senior. He might have been 40. No, I guess I was wrong. I guess maybe he was older. He didn't say he was a vet. He might well have been. Maybe he couldn't serve. I don't know. I don't know his history or anything else. But the one thing he did say, I see you. He said, I see you were. Let me correct myself. You are a Marine. I said, yes, sir. I'm honored to be. He said, yeah, I started to say were, but I know that you guys, that once you're a Marine, you're always a Marine. I said, that's true. And we got men and women in different branches of the service. They thoroughly enjoy what they're doing. They are protecting their country. They're serving their country. They're doing the mission they're assigned, and they're doing a great job with it. Well, we thank them. We thank them. But right now, they are being dismissed by this president. The other day, Senator Ted Cruz talked about impeaching Biden because of what the Democrats had done. And Biden made this statement that it will probably happen, and it's a wrong thing. He's the first one to admit it's a wrong thing to do, but here it is.
The Democrats weaponized impeachment. They used it for partisan purposes to go after Trump because they disagreed with him. And one of the real disadvantages of doing that, and this is something you and I talked about at great length, is the more you weaponize it and turn it into a partisan cudgel, you know, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I said at the time, when we have a Democratic president and a Republican House, you can expect an impeachment proceeding. That's not how impeachment is meant to work. But I think the Democrats crossed that line. I think there'll be enormous pressure on a Republican House to begin impeachment proceedings. I think there are potentially multiple grounds to consider for impeachment. Probably the most compelling is the utter lawlessness of President Biden's refusal to enforce the border.
That's the biggest part. His oath of office is that he would protect the security of our country. That's at the border. But we also have the problems of, as Trump had mentioned, blood in the streets. The LA Police Union is now ripping the prosecutor Gascon, saying he doesn't have the courage or the conviction to hold murderers accountable. And they're right. You want to be a killer, a murderer, whatever, you can get away with it. And then you've got the guy that goes into Texas in a synagogue, and no one would call it a hate crime. We're going to get into that, but before that, something that Trump did not do in Arizona, some said expected.
Leaves are pretty until they start falling into your gutters. You really want to climb up a ladder, clean them out? That sounds like a project, a dangerous project. I have a motto. I don't do projects. You need K-Guard leaf-free gutter system. Get a free estimate. Locally owned, KGuardMidwest.com. KGuardMidwest.com.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
I was visiting my 75-year-old aunt the other day when her phone rang.
Hello? It's you again.
She seemed
right?
nervous.
Well, I don't think I need any more life insurance.
The caller was doing a great job keeping my aunt on the line.
Okay, so you need my credit card number?
My aunt went to get her purse, so I decided that I would ask a few questions. Well, as soon as I introduced myself, the caller hung up.
Gruff the Crime Dog here. Recognizing the signs of fraud can be difficult for older people. Often they're very trusting and consider it impolite to hang up. The National Crime Prevention Council wants to educate seniors so that these scams can be reported to local law enforcement agencies.
Financial fraud can include identity theft, fake check and wire transfer scams, investment and credit card fraud, and online charitable solicitations. Unfortunately, only 1 in 5 of these crimes are reported. To learn more, go to www.ncpc.org. That's ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council and the U.S. Department of Justice.
Come on, you watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then, if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts. That's all they do. And you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. That's 800-649-8617.
KXEN St. Louis.
It only takes a minute to find out if you may have prediabetes, and you can do it at doihaveprediabetes.org. But you're probably not going to, are you? Kids, work, listening to the radio. You're busy, which is great because busy people can't get prediabetes. Oh my, I read that wrong. They can. Should have worn my glasses. So visit doihaveprediabetes.org and take a short test, because prediabetes can be reversed.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its pre-diabetes awareness partners.
You can text Larry right now at LarryConnersUSA Facebook. Larry Connors USA Facebook.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
Before I continue my remarks, I was going to tell you about something Trump was expected to say the other day in Arizona, which was really folks were on the edge of their seat waiting for it. I mentioned a moment ago about how the police union is so upset with the district attorney Gascon because he will not prosecute killers. And of course, he's in office because of George Soros, who put other prosecutors in place across the nation to reform justice. Yes, you have one in St. Louis. Yeah, one in Chicago. Yeah, one in Baltimore. I mean, I could go, every blue city has one, and if it's a blue state, they have a Soros-funded prosecutor or an attorney general for that particular state. But here's one of the things that has the folks so upset, even those who might have been more willing to accept some of Gascon's thoughts. He is considering a 10-year-old girl. Let me start there. Let me start back on facts briefly. A 10-year-old girl in 2014 was assaulted. and she was assaulted by a biological male who pled guilty to choking her in a bathroom stall, shoving his hands into her pants, sexually assaulting her. But now this male is a transgender woman. The crime happened when she was 18. Now at 26, Gascon is saying, well, we're going to charge this transgender person under the juvenile code, not the adult code. You want to know why? Transgender. And he's looking to make points with them. All right, now back to what we did not see happen over the weekend from Trump in Arizona. I was talking to friends the other day, and they said, do you think Trump's going to announce that he's going to run in 2024? I said, I don't have any inside information, but I do not think so. Well, here's what they were building it on. There were a lot of reports out at that time, many of them on Newsmax, and I'm not knocking Newsmax. I think they do a great job. But they were ballyhooing a lot that there's going to be a major announcement. And many said that means he's going to announce he's going to run in 2024. In fact, what he ended up doing was pretty much what he's already done before. That's knock Biden and say again that it's this government shutdown, demand that Congress fund a border wall. That was about as close of a major announcement. A tweet late Friday from Trump had previewed the announcement, capping 3 days of dramatic twist to the clash between the president and Nancy Pelosi. But the point being here is that Trump did not announce he's going to run again in 2024. Doesn't mean he won't, but it didn't happen then. I'm not saying Newsmax was totally wrong. Maybe their information wasn't exactly right. But a lot of folks are waiting to see. I know I had numerous people ask me. I said, I don't have any inside information. But if I were to guess, I'd say no, he's not going to. Now, coming up, what happened in Texas the other day, by any standards, would be considered a hate crime, unless you're looking for an excuse to look away.
You can email Larry at LarryConnersUSA@gmail.com. LarryConnersUSA@gmail.com.
Remember in the beginning, when you first started to build a life for you and your family, you never imagined it would come to this. Instead of living your dreams, you're living with debt. In fact, it's smothering you. Now there's a way you can take back control with one simple call. If you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt, you qualify to receive a free, no-obligation consultation on how to get rid of that debt for good. Call the Debt Helpline now. We work on your behalf to reduce your debt. We specialize in credit cards, retail store cards, and medical bills. One simple call is all it takes to get the ball rolling to a debt-free life. Stop living with debt and start living your dreams. Call the Debt Helpline now.
800-958-2156. 800-958-2156. 800-958-2156. That's 800-958-2156.
An important message from Byram Healthcare. If you live with diabetes, you know how challenging and painful it can be to manage your blood sugar. With private insurance, Medicare, or Medicaid, that can all change. If you test your blood sugar 4 or more times a day and inject insulin 3 or more times a day, you may qualify to receive at little or no cost, less copays and deductibles, a continuous glucose monitor, providing blood sugar readings with no uncomfortable finger sticks, and alert you in real time to potential spikes with your blood sugar levels. Byram Healthcare is a leading U.S. provider of continuous glucose monitors We carry most major brands and will work with your insurance to get your benefits approved. So if you have diabetes, call a U.S.-based Byram healthcare specialist now and see if you qualify.
800-914-4034. 800-914-4034. 800-914-4034. That's 800-914-4034.
Ackerman Toyota has the perfect new or pre-owned car for you, but Jay Ackerman also has a mission to help charities that make a difference. Ackerman Toyota supports food banks, veterans groups, head injury victims, charities battling cancer. Ackerman Toyota at Hampton and Interstate 44. Ackerman Toyota for life.
You can text Larry right now at LarryConnersUSA Facebook. Larry Connors USA Facebook.
Boom, 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 boom. Gonna shoot your out down. Take you
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
So the other day, down in Texas, Colleyville, Texas, a man went inside and held hostages at this Beth Israel synagogue congregation. Holding hostages. Now, supposedly he was upset because of a woman who had been previously taken into custody while being questioned by federal investigators at that time for possibly being involved in an activity, a crime, grabbed one of the weapons and started shooting the officer. So she was taken into custody, restrained, and then sentenced to 86 years. Supposedly, that was the pretense for the entire event of what he was doing. She is anti-Israeli. He is a UK citizen. And at the time, the FBI stated, listen carefully here. Please listen carefully. The synagogue hostage takers' demands, according to the FBI, quote, were not specifically related to the Jewish community. Riddle me this. Before he got to that Jewish synagogue, how many churches, Protestant churches, do you think he passed? How many Catholic cathedrals did he pass? How many Muslim and Buddhist and Hindu worship places did he pass before he stopped at this synagogue, Jewish synagogue? For that matter, how many Walmarts did he pass? How many parks where kids and others might have been playing on a fairly nice day in Texas? Or anywhere else? Service stations. I don't know the answer, but I do know where he did stop. He stopped at that Jewish synagogue. The 44-year-old, according to the FBI, entered the building holding 4 people, including a rabbi, hostage for hours. They were doing a live stream of their service on Facebook at the time. During a part of the hostage situation, they got taken down. Now, investigators say that the hostage taker did express support for Afia Sakadidi. I could have the name wrong, a Pakistani neuroscientist sentenced to 86 years in prison, as I said, back in 2010 for trying to murder and assault U.S. military personnel while at the Federal Medical Carswell prison in Fort Worth, and that he apparently wanted her released. Well, after 12 hours of negotiations with the hostage taker, the hostages were freed after a loud bang and the sound of gunfire. At a news conference after the hostages were released, FBI special agent in charge said, quote, the Texas synagogue hostage takers' demands were specifically focused on issues not connected to the Jewish community. When I heard that, I went ballistic. That is a clear definition of a hate crime, in the sense that he targeted a Jewish synagogue. Now, I'm going to say, but did he say anything against the Jews? Was he speaking anti-Semitic? Listen, if you were so willing to buy into the Jussie Smollett hate crime in Chicago in the middle of a night where the empire fading star goes out in the streets on a cold night to buy a sandwich and is assaulted by, as he said, two men calling him racist names and putting a noose around his neck and said, this is MAGA country. Chicago is MAGA country? Give me a break. And then he goes back to the hotel, still holding the sandwich, by the way, because he'd paid for it, didn't want to lose it, and calling then for help for police, still had the noose around his neck, as if that would prove what he did. That was quickly labeled a hate crime. Why? What's the difference between that and what just happened here? The state-controlled media narrative. And it fit perfectly. It fit perfectly that everyone that is a Trump supporter or a conservative of any type, you must be racist. That's what the whole basis of this CRT thing that they're trying to shove down our children's throats. The nation was built upon systemic racism, which is a flat-out lie. But don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. Now, the latest information coming out is that the brother of this terrorist, and finally they did say, yeah, they're going to list him as a terrorist. You think? Finally they decide he's a terrorist, which then again means it's a hate crime. His brother said, look, my brother, he's known to police, got a criminal record. And then his brother asked this question. After pointing out he's known to police, got a criminal record, how is he allowed to get a visa and get a gun? To travel from the UK on a visa and then come here to the U.S. at some point and get a gun. He traveled to the U.S. about 2 weeks ago into New York's JFK International Airport, then headed down to Texas. Now, his brother also says, my brother has some mental health issues. He needs treatment. But when he went into the synagogue, it was not just because it was another building. He was going after targets that were Jewish. He is a UK citizen. I want to point that out again. One local community group page, after the man had been identified, wrote in a now deleted post, he had sadly departed from this temporary world and returned to his creator. This is the guy who's going to hold Jewish rabbi and others in the congregation hostage, maybe kill them or get them killed. They apologized for the post the next day, writing, we posted about the death of a local individual and utilized a standard template with generic wording that is used on all our death announcements. After learning about the full circumstances surrounding his death, the post was removed. Are you going to tell me you did not know what happened when you wrote that you put it up? You're lying. You knew what had happened. You put it up there anyway. because it's our standard template. Then they went on to say, I want to give them credit for this, they went on to say they totally condemn any threats or attacks on innocent people. We've always promoted peace, love, harmony between people of all faiths, and none. Those who had none. The Muslim Council of Britain also condemning the attack, saying the actions were completely unacceptable, and we condemn the action in the strongest possible terms. Now, why are the Muslim communities in the UK making these kinds of statements at all? Because it was a hate crime. And our FBI, I don't know the guy that's down there in charge, but I will tell you this, he is probably saying, oh my God, did I step in that? I should have kept my mouth shut. Said we're still investigating. But when they said we're looking for a motive, and then saying, not just that we're still looking for a motive, but saying at that point he was not targeting the Jewish community. But let's go back to the question raised by his own brother. He has a criminal record, and yet he was allowed to get a visa and travel into the United States, arriving 2 weeks ago, and since then got a gun. Oh my God. Right there we have another reason for gun control, don't you think? I mean, how did that happen? You got to hear what Joe Biden had to say about that. Believe me. When you hear it, if you're driving, you may want to park for a moment. If you're watching us live right now on YouTube, Larry Connors USA Facebook, get ready to, well, let your friends and neighbors know they need to be watching. This is going to be good. Stand by.
You can connect with Larry on Twitter at LarryConnersUSA.
Are you suffering from too much house? Is your house too big for your current needs and you want to simplify your life? If you want to sell your house and downsize, or if you've inherited a property you don't need, then call my friends at the Home Buying Network today for a fast cash offer. We've helped hundreds of people just like you who want to sell a house and downsize fast. With no real estate commissions, fees, or other normal house selling hassles, we make selling your house easy. We don't list your house, we buy it for fast cash. In most cases, our specialists can buy your house in just a few days or when you want. Make this free call now to downsize your house and get a fast cash offer.
Paid for by the Sierra Group. Call 800-918-7193. 800-918-7193. 800-918-7193. That's 800-918-7193.
Okay, we are running a car drive right now to help veterans all across America. So if you have an old car, truck, or van, even a motorcycle or an RV sitting around, you can right now give it away and help the vets. They really need your help. And your car will help support the vets and their families. And guess what? You even get a tax donation. Plus, we'll even come and pick up your car for free. And all you've got to do is pick up your phone right now and make a free call. Now is the perfect time to do something good for the vets. Give back to the vets right now for all they've done for this country. And your old car can really help them. So call the Veterans Car Donation Program right now for free pickup of your vehicle. Help the vets and help your taxes at the same time. Call right now.
800-887-1097. 800-887-1097. 800-887-1097. That's 800-887-1097.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You've messed up your daughter's haircut. Do you A, get spiritual?
Mom, where's the mirror?
Beauty is within. Oh.
B, find the positives?
Less time blow drying, more time texting?
Or C, show empathy?
Mom, you really don't have to.
Twinsies!
I kinda love it. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on adoption, visit adoptuskids.org. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Got me waking, boss man, waking around the fire. I want a little rain. down big ball can't you hear me when I call?
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
All right, so thanks again. If you're watching on Larry Connors USA, Facebook, YouTube, we are now doing live streaming on a consistent basis, or trying. We're also trying to do some other things with YouTube. We had some problems in the past. We're trying to resolve some of those. And in one case, we've already received a strike against us from Facebook. That was back when we put Sidney Powell on the air, and we were told, you ever do that again? I don't know what they'd do if we did it today. I mean, pretty much he's disappeared from the scene, but at the time she was one of those saying that the election was a fraud, so forth, so on. Well, there are a lot of us still saying that. At least we're not sure it was exactly legal, and more evidence is surfacing still. My main point is move past it and focus on 2022 and 2024. But back to the shooting at the Texas synagogue the other day, which supposedly was not immediately called a hate crime and a terrorist action. Now it is. But in the beginning, it was not. When the FBI said the hostage takers' demands were not specifically related to the Jewish community. As I mentioned, he was concerned about a Pakistani woman who had been imprisoned in Texas on charges trying to kill American service members in Afghanistan. If that's your way to get out of saying it had nothing to do with the Jewish community, why the hell did he go to a Jewish synagogue? Why didn't he just go into a Walmart and grab a bunch of people? So the FBI got ripped on social media for that statement. And in fact, some are calling for the FBI to be defunded and eliminated. I put out on my Twitter account over the weekend, I know many men and women in the FBI, all the highest integrity, and do the best they can for this nation under the restrictions sometimes they face. They're more handcuffed than the criminals in many cases. But you got others on the political level that have been weaponizing the FBI for their politics, and they don't do anything to upset the state-controlled media and the progressives. The woman he wanted freed she has a history of anti-Semitism. Are you surprised? You shouldn't be. Shouldn't be surprised at all. The Department of Justice was asked about the FBI statement. At last report, no comment. Those are two good words they've learned early. When I first started in this business 50 plus years ago, and I'm doing interviews, and it got to a touchy subject, it was no comment. They've got that down pretty good. But then we come to the situation that how did this guy that had a criminal record, according to his own brother, get a visa to come into the U.S. and then actually end up with a gun? How did that happen? And who's to blame for it? Now, Joe Biden made a statement. In fact, he actually took a question regarding the Texas synagogue attack. The 44-year-old was shot to death by a SWAT squad, and thankfully everybody in the congregation got out safely after federal agents stormed the building following a 10-hour standoff. Biden commented mentioning more gun control, only then to admit this guy, maybe it's a brain freeze, too much ice cream. You know, that you take a big chunk of ice cream, and, oh, God, that hurts. And you can't think clearly. Maybe that's what was happening. I don't know. He had to admit more gun control would not have helped in this situation. Oh, that's not sitting well with the progressives. He was being asked about it. He said, well, he allegedly purchased it on the street. Now, what that means, I don't know, whether he purchased it from an individual in a homeless shelter or a homeless community, or whether because that's where he said he was. It's hard to tell. I just don't know. The guns are, we should be, the idea. I'm reading his statement now. I'm not just stumbling around. I'm reading his statement. The guns are, we should be, the idea of background checks are critical, But you can't stop something like this if someone on the street buying something from somebody else on the street. What have we been saying all the time? It's the criminal element responsible for gun violence that needs to be controlled. Law-abiding legal citizens exercising their Second Amendment are not the issue. We have 2 to 3 times as many guns in this nation as we do people. If the guns were the issue, you would know it in short order. I'll take an AK-47 and put it on the table right now in front of you, fully loaded, ready to go. But unless you touch it or move it or anything happens, it's going to be there 10 years from now. Coming up, we are going to spend time on MLK's speech and also other issues facing us. Stand by, please.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
Coming up, Larry Connors USA on KXEN 1010, St. Louis.
This is KXEN St. Louis, operate 1010 AM and K264CY at 100.7 FM.
Continues into the weekend standoff at a Texas synagogue. It ended with the death of an armed British man. Correspondent Rita Foley has more.
President Biden calls what Malik Faisal Akram did at the suburban Fort Worth synagogue an act of terror. He took hostages at the Congregation Beth Israel synagogue and could be heard ranting on a Facebook live stream demanding the release of a Pakistani neuroscientist who was convicted of trying to kill U.S. Army officers in Afghanistan. The last hostages ran out of the synagogue Saturday night. Then a manhole opened the same door, closed it, and moments later several shots and an explosion were heard. Akram was dead. Late Sunday, British police revealed the 2 teenagers had been arrested in connection with the standoff, but so far, no details. I'm Rita Foley.
Also at townhall.com, a dangerous winter storm is whipping the East Coast with significant snowfall, strong thunderstorms, and blustery winds. Travel reported to be very treacherous. And that storm forcing the closure of many COVID-19 vaccination and testing sites in the northeastern U.S. On Martin Luther King Jr. Day, black churches are getting a $20 million donation. Bernie Bennett with that story.
The Lilly Endowment Incorporated, a private philanthropic organization, donated $20 million to the African American Cultural Heritage Action Fund, which then used the money to establish the Preserving Black Churches Initiative, according to the National Trust for Historical Preservation. According to the NTHP's website, quote, the purpose is to invest in historic black churches and congregations to reimagine, redesign, and deploy historic preservation to address the institution's needs and the cultural assets and stories they steward. Bernie Bennett reporting.
More at townhall.com.
So I invested in one of those fancy new exercise bikes. Without a doubt, a very special tool to help me get healthier. The problem is 3 days go by, then 4, and I've done nothing. And then it's night 5, and I'm sitting at the kitchen table, and I look down at myself, and I can't help but just laugh. Because there I am, wearing the exercise t-shirt that came with the bike, and I'm eating 2 corn dogs. And I think we agree, the special tool only matters if we use it to our benefit. At United Faith Mortgage, we believe we have an advantageous tool for you. Our mortgage team is an arm of a bigger company who is a direct lender, which means our company gets to use its own money and make its own decisions. There's no middleman, and often this allows us to get you a better rate on your refinance or new home purchase, which can save you monthly and lifelong money. We are United Faith Mortgage.
United Faith Mortgage is a DBA of United Mortgage Corp. 25 Meadow Park Road, Melville, New York. Licensed mortgage banker. For all licensing information, go to NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Corporate NMLS number 1330. Equal housing lender. Licensed in Alaska, Hawaii, Georgia, Massachusetts, North Dakota.
Come on. You watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then, if you owe back taxes or haven't 5 years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do. And you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. That's 800-649-8617.
You are listening to Larry Connors, USA.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA. News and commentary.
January 17, 2022. Many had this day off. It's a federal holiday for Martin Luther King. Wall Street, of course, is closed. No action there today. We're going to be spending some more time on the MLK speeches of the past and put them in perspective with today's history later this hour. And also, I'm going to share some remarks made by Dr. King's daughter, Evangelist Alveda King. She is founder of the pro-life organization, Speak for Life. I said daughter, it's a niece. I'm sorry, my mistake there. As to what she thinks the MLK would think. And there are those who are still saying that CRT, critical race theory, should be taught in our schools because that's another example of racial inequality and systemic racism throughout this nation. All of this stuff going on, the way Biden has handled this stuff, as I pointed out in the last hour, in case you missed it, throughout the country through 2021, based on a poll by Gallup, the country moved away from Democrat Party ideas and ideology. And many of them, by the way, many of the ideas that you see out there labeled under Democrats are really progressive Democrats. There are a lot of Democrats that they don't buy into that stuff, but they're in that party, so they're kind of stuck there. Unless they choose not to run and know also if they run, they're going to lose. And 25 at least have decided we're not going to run for 2022. So Republicans have an extremely good chance of winning the House back in 2022. But at the beginning of 2021, 49% of the country identified as Democrats. 40% said they were Republicans. That was at the beginning of Joe Biden. Now, after one full year, 47% say they're Republicans, only 42% Democrats. That's a 14-point shift towards the GOP. It's been 25 years since the GOP held a 5-point lead over the Democrats. And why would that be happening? Again, it's because of the things that Trump was pointing out in Arizona over the weekend. And there were many who thought he was going to use that opportunity to announce he was going to run for 2024. That did not happen. What did occupy a lot of folks over the weekend, of course, were the various football games. And in one particular, I might point out, since God's football team is the Dallas Cowboys. Oh, I can hear you. I hear some of you out there. I know that. I know. But Dak Prescott, he's the quarterback for the Cowboys, heard that fans were throwing trash at the referees after the Cowboys lost. Dak was trying to get in at the last few seconds, trying to run a play, and tried to get everybody lined up and spike the ball. And he said the refs were too slow to spot it, so therefore they are to blame. I'm not going to buy that. You shouldn't have been making that play, but so it goes. An ex-education advisor to former President Barack Obama pleading guilty to wire fraud The scheme taking $218,000 from a group of charter schools he had founded in New York City. And in Utah, according to a Salt Lake Tribune editorial board statement, if Utah were, quote, a truly civilized state, the governor would have deployed the National Guard to ensure those without proof of vaccination would be barred from going anywhere. Really? That what you want? As I mentioned, today is MLK Day, and there was a statement from President Biden regarding it. I should make note that the statement was pre-recorded, a pre-recorded address, because the president is at home in Delaware. He's not taking part in any MLK activities. Do you find that strange? Coming up in the next hour, we're going to hear more from MLK of the past, and also Senator Ted Cruz about the hypocrisy that exists.
Larry Connors USA, news and commentary.
For years, I've told you, be well with Wellington Environmental. That's because I know the excellent work Wellington does when it comes to making your home, your business, even hospitals safe. See, recently I asked Wellington to check a relative's home. The relative had been constantly sick. Doctors couldn't find a cause. I asked Tom Wellington, please check the house. After extensive testing, Wellington could rule out mold and other air and water toxins. Well, that was a major relief, and the negative results gave doctors added information. So when I encourage you to call Wellington, I mean it. Wellington, 314-644-4930, 644-4930. A-rated by the Better Business Bureau, Missouri and Illinois. Wellington Environmental, 314-644-4930. Be well with Wellington Environmental.
Okay, we are running a car drive right now to help veterans all across America. So if you have an old car, truck, or van, even a motorcycle or an RV sitting around, you can right now give it away and help the vets. They really need your help. And your car will help support the vets and their families. And guess what? You even get a tax donation. Plus, we'll even come and pick up your car for free. And all you've got to do is pick up your phone right now and make a free call. Now is the perfect time to do something good for the vets. Give back to the vets right now for all they've done for this country. And your old car can really help them. So call the Veterans Car Donation Program right now for free pickup of your vehicle. Help the vets and help your taxes at the same time. Call right now.
800-887-1097. 800-887-1097. 800-887-1097. That's 800-887-1097.
Right now, Doctors Without Borders medical teams are operating in some of the most remote and dangerous corners of the world. When front yards become front lines, when disaster erupts, when disease rages, when communities collapse under crisis, at the crossroads of conflict and epidemic, where there are no hospitals, that's where we operate. We go where conditions are the worst because that's where we're needed most. In nearly 70 countries, we're saving lives threatened by violence, disease, malnutrition, and catastrophic events. Donors are vital to our mission. Your response is critical to our response in places where few others will go. That's where we operate. Learn more at doctorswithoutborders.org.
I want to thank my friends at John Bill Roofing for sponsoring this segment of Larry Connors USA. John Bill Roofing, covering homes, businesses throughout the Midwest with the best quality, lowest price. John Bill Roofing. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
You can text Larry right now at Larry Connors USA Facebook. Larry Connors USA Facebook.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
I want to point to you the words of President Joe Biden. If you're not inclined to believe a Republican, maybe you'll believe Joe Biden. Here's what Joe Biden said in 2019. This is not 1964. This is not 1954. 2019, a couple of years ago. Quote, ending the filibuster is a very dangerous move. You're at home and you don't believe Republicans. Do you believe Joe Biden? Was he lying when he said ending the filibuster is a very dangerous move, or was he telling the truth? Because that's what Joe Biden said just a couple of years ago.
That is Senator Ted Cruz pointing out on the floor of the Senate how the Democrats have done a flip-flop. And, of course, many politicians do that. They realize we're on the wrong side here. We better get back to the other side. But those particular remarks that Biden said that you end democracy, basically, I mean, that's strong language. It shouldn't surprise us. It really shouldn't. Because if a man whose faith, and Joe Biden being a Catholic, says that it is wrong to kill an unborn child, abortion, and he signed on to the Hyde Amendment while a senator because he didn't want any federal dollars to be spent on abortions, and said it was a wrong thing to do. But then to win the White House, he sells out his own religion and his belief in protection of unborn children just so he can sit in the Oval Office as president. See, that's the kind of thing that gets me. I mean, you can have any view you want. You're entitled to that. But if you really believe it, stick with it. Now, you can go through some changes and acknowledge, I had that opinion, I'm wrong. And I will tell you I'm wrong. But when you do it simply for either political gain, monetary gain, or just the fact that you'll think you'll win more friends and create less enemies, you're a spineless piece of, you add the adjective or the noun. But that's what Biden said. Oh, but Senator Cruz was not wrong, was not done. And keep in mind, what they're talking about here is we want to get rid of the filibuster at this point because we can't have Joe Manchin. Even Maxine Waters over the weekend said, we can't have one man like Joe Manchin hold the whole progress of the nation. Who woke her up and said, did you know this is going on? I have no idea. But every time she opens her mouth, it's always going to be a matter, it's a race issue. Because, again, she called him a racist. Words to that effect. But as Senator Cruz said, that's what Biden said in defending that we don't get rid of the filibuster. This is what makes things the way they are, that makes this democracy the way it should be. Biden was, of course, not the only one then that had that opinion, and has changed now because it's politically expedient. The same is with Senator Schumer.
Senator Chuck Schumer in 2015 gave a speech. I'm going to read to you verbatim what he said. He said, they want, because they can't get their way, to change the rules midstream. All right, what would be the effect of that? You change the rules midstream, you nuke the filibuster. What would be the effect of that? According to Chuck Schumer, the effect of that, to wash away 200 years of history. That's what Schumer says is the effect. Washing away 200 years of history, that sounds serious. Anything else? They want to make this country into a banana republic, where if you don't get your way, you change the rules. Wash away 200 years of history, make this country a banana republic. That's pretty serious stuff. That ought to concern us, but at least that's the worst it gets, right? Well, actually, no. Schumer continued. It'll be doomsday for democracy if we do.
Doomsday for democracy. That's when he was for protecting the filibuster. He didn't want anyone on the Republicans to think they could get rid of it that easily, that it would lead to tragic consequences for the nation, wipe out 200 years, and a doomsday for the democracy. A little bit later, I want you to hear Cruz give a challenge to state-controlled media reporters. Where the hell are you in doing your job on this point? We'll come to that in the next segment. But before, I want to share something with you from James Carville. I did not get a time to pull the tape together today, but that's okay because I love doing James Carville. I mean, James Carville, one of the best-known strategists in the Democrat Party. He's the reason Bill Clinton got elected. Right out of Louisiana, he came up there. He's a strategist, and he helped Bill Clinton of Arkansas get into the White House, and then hung around, did some more, now does other stuff. He's giving advice to the Democrats. This was a piece that ran. I'll probably try to run part of it tomorrow if I have time. Every weekend, I mean, I'm watching stories constantly come down. It's somebody's opening up a full blast. I started to say fire hose. I think it's a dam breaking. All kinds of stuff rushing at me. I'm making notes. I'm sending myself messages to use. I'm getting messages and texts from other people. They're all good material. And finally, I reach a point, well, I either have to fish or cut bait. We got to put something on the air. We can't spin forever. And I have to make some decisions and try to be cohesive and hopefully be effective. You be the judge of that. But James Carville, one of the best-known strategists in the Democrat Party, said to the Democrats in his Cajun accent, just quit being a whiny party. Just get out there and fight and tell people what you did, and you tell people the exact truth. He said a lot of Democrat base has not been told or informed of the things President Biden and Congress has accomplished. James, it's a good thing that they haven't been told. Oh, they know, they just don't want to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. I think James is losing. I think he's been having maybe one or two hurricanes too much, waiting gumbo and etouffee in Cajun country, and eating ditch bugs, crawdads to some of you, sucking the heads of them. That you come up with saying that a lot of the Democrat base has not been told or informed of the things Biden and his Congress have accomplished. What the hell have they accomplished? Oh, the Build Back Better bust. I mean, boom. I mean, the Build Back Better whatever. When less than 15%, and that's a stretch, 15% going for infrastructure. But that's what he pointed to. He said, look at the president's bipartisan infrastructure win. You know why it's bipartisan? Because there were some things in there that would help states, and they need it, bridges, roads, so forth. And he talked about lower child poverty rates as examples of the victories. I haven't seen anything that says the child poverty rate is lower. Have you? If I overlooked that, if I did, I apologize. But what Carville told Chuck Todd, who is hosting Meet the Press, what you do, Chuck, is you run on what you got. Kind of like You dance with the woman you brought to the party. But what he goes on to say is, you don't run on what you don't got. He said the stuff you got's pretty good. If they don't pass voting rights, if they don't pass Build Back Better, run on that in 2022. Oh, please. Oh, please. Please run on that. We would love to see them run on that. I got to say, I have a great deal of respect for Carville and some of his views and strategies. I do, but in this case, like I said, I think, have you had a hurricane? I'm talking about the drink. Got a lot of liqueurs mixed in with it. And I know that you can sit on the floor. I've done it. Sitting there with folks sitting and having one. I feel pretty good. I have a second one. And I go to stand up. I cannot get up. And I think in this case, Carville is falling down and he can't get up. But again, back to Senator Ted Cruz as to reviewing Biden and Schumer and their hypocrisy.
Was Joe Biden lying in 2019? Was Senator Schumer lying in 2005? I don't know. You ought to ask them. A double power grab with a twist. Jim Crow 2.0, seizing federal elections, striking down the laws adopted by Democratic legislatures, putting an unelected radical leftist bureaucrat in charge of elections with more power, this one leftist bureaucrat, than all 29 million people in the state of Texas. Doing so by breaking the Senate rules to change the Senate rules, and the twist is with a dose of hypocrisy, unusual even for this place. Look, if a senator serves long enough, there'll be times when they may vote a little bit this way or a little bit that way. There are lots of senators that have had tensions with prior positions. I cannot think of another time when a senator has voted for something that he has called doomsday for democracy.
Yeah, that's what Schumer said. But now he's willing to endorse and wrap his arms around doomsday for democracy if he gets them what they want. Back to Carville, James Carville, he said, and if inflation's still at 7% in November this year, we're going to lose anyway. Bingo. That point, you're right. He said, but I don't think a lot of people don't think that's going to be the case. Speaking of case, I'll put a case of whiskey against your case of whiskey, James, and then I'll have 2 cases of whiskey. But he says, shoulder on, you had a bad week, but you had a good year. What is he drinking? And as I said, Senator Cruz also, while he was addressing this point on the floor of the Senate about the hypocrisy that exists, especially on something this major, I'm not talking about just a little move here and there on something, but this major, to nuke the filibuster, then he says he turns his attention to state-controlled reporters. You know who you are. We know who you are. Stand by.
I have a new sponsor just in time that could save you a lot of trouble, maybe pain. K-Guard leaf-free gutter system. Leaves get in your gutter, rain comes, ice, you have a major costly issue. Contact my new sponsor for a free estimate. K-Guard Midwest, locally owned. So you're supporting your neighbors and this program. KGuardMidwest.com. KGuardMidwest.com.
Work, school, grocery shopping, doctor's appointments, the gym, to the airport to pick up loved ones, to the kids' soccer games, piano lessons, out for movie night, to hear your favorite band in the city, over to Grandma and Grandpa's house, and on last year's amazing road trip. Your vehicle takes you so many places. Protect it. When you leave your vehicle, remember to always take your keys or key fob with you and lock the doors. If you suspect auto theft, contact the National Insurance Crime Bureau at 1-800-TEL-NICB. That's 1-800-TEL-NICB, or visit our website at www.nicb.org. A public service message from the National Insurance Crime Bureau.
Hi, I'm Brooke Shields. I've had a lot of different jobs, from actress to author to clothing designer. But there's one that's more important than all the others: being a mom. It's the most difficult and rewarding job I've ever had. It's also a big responsibility. I'm teaching my daughters to be strong and independent so they can successfully navigate their own life journey. And I'm protecting their future by having life insurance. Just like my mom, I'd give the world to protect my children. I got life insurance before I was married because I knew I wanted children someday. This isn't anything I was taught growing up. It's a lesson I learned on my own and want to share with you. Getting life insurance might feel scary or like it's something other people do, but once you get it, it's done. And it's something most people can afford. Protecting my family financially means everything to me. That's why I have life insurance, and you should too. Learn more at lifehappens.org.
A public service message from the nonprofit Life Happens.
Hi, I'm Ice-T. As a veteran, I know that for many former servicemen and women, the battle doesn't always end when they come home. Every day, 184 veterans are diagnosed with post-traumatic stress, and sadly, 20 take their own lives. When nothing else helps, professionally trained service dogs can. American Humane, serving the U.S. military for over 100 years, rescues animals in need of forever homes and trains them to become free, life-saving service dogs for our nation's veterans. If you're a veteran or know a veteran struggling with post-traumatic stress or traumatic brain injury, please go to AmericanHumane.org to learn about their Pups for Patriots program. Let's give our veterans a fighting chance.
KXEN St. Louis.
You can text Larry right now at Larry Connors USA Facebook. Larry Connors USA Facebook.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
Any reporter who wants to be something other than a partisan shill and mouthpiece for the Democrats ought to ask every single Democrat. Senator so-and-so, do you agree with Chuck Schumer that ending the filibuster will turn our nation into a banana republic? Do you agree, Senator so-and-so, that ending the filibuster would be doomsday for democracy? And by the way, if there are any reporters left who actually have journalistic ethics, you shouldn't just ask Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. Right now, they're the lone Democrats with the gumption to stand up for democracy. But you ought to ask all 50 of them, every single one of the Democrats. Do you agree with Chuck Schumer ending the filibuster is doomsday for democracy?
Perfect question. Those senators will not appear in front of a reporter that would dare ask such a question unless they agree that, yeah, that was a stupid statement. And is he really, if he believed in it that much then, what's changed? What's changed is the power grab. They have control of the White House, the House, barely, and the Senate if it came to a 50-50 tie with VP Harris stepping in. to break the tie. And by the same token, the reporter should be asking about this video apparently being released showing Pennsylvania official admitting election laws were broken in 2020. Now, again, not saying that's enough to overturn 2020. A Wisconsin judge ruling ballot drop boxes, the election officials put those out, broke that law in that state. Again, not saying that's enough to overturn the election, but that's what Trump was pushing again in Arizona, and a lot of people firmly believe it. I certainly have my doubts about it. I do not know, and I will not say that that would have changed the election. But there is reason. That itself is reason for full election reform. Do not buy the leftist argument that what this really is just an attempt to deny people right to vote. And if reporters were really doing their job, they would have been buying into this, or looking in closer at some of these COVID false stories that were being pushed around by Dr. Fake forever. I'm looking at a piece here in the Federalist right now pointing out that the CDC, the title is, the CDC finally admits cloth masks were always political theater. Mask mandates have always been more about showing compliance and keeping people safe, and the CDC's latest embarrassing disclosure further proves it, according to L. Reynolds, who wrote for the Federalist. There'd been obvious political theater back when Anthony Fake promised, she said, Fauci, promised we didn't need them, and then flip-flop and promised we did. And, of course, you see all the people that wear the mask when they're being seen in public, and they know they're being seen, but when they're not, they take them off because they know they're not going to do anything. The Federalist ran a story back in November 2020. Many studies find that cloth masks do not stop viruses like COVID. That was 2020. Then what happened? Well, all the so-called fact checkers started saying that was false. But now the CDC has admitted they're not really that effective. And they should also be asking about this statement that came out of the Salt Lake Tribunal editorial board. If Utah were a truly civilized state, the governor would deploy the National Guard to ensure those without proof of vaccination be barred from going anywhere. All right, let's turn to this date honoring MLK and why, and some of the things he said, and in face of critical race theory.
You can email Larry at LarryConnersUSA@gmail.com. LarryConnersUSA@gmail.com.
An important message from Byram Healthcare. If you live with diabetes, you know how challenging and painful it can be to manage your blood sugar. With private insurance, Medicare, or Medicaid, that can all change. If you test your blood sugar 4 or more times a day and inject insulin 3 or more times a day, you may qualify to receive at little or no cost, less copays and deductibles, a continuous glucose monitor, providing blood sugar readings with no uncomfortable finger sticks, and alert you in real time to potential spikes with your blood sugar levels. Byram Healthcare is a leading U.S. provider of continuous glucose monitors. We carry most major brands and will work with your insurance to get your benefits approved. So if you have diabetes, call a U.S.-based Byram Healthcare specialist now and see if you qualify.
800-914-4034. 800-914-4034. 800-914-4034. That's 800-914-4034.
Come on. You watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do, and you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. That's 800-649-8617.
At Interstate 44 in Hampton, you can find new business and opportunity where there had been nothing. That all changed when Jay Ackerman had a vision. He built the new Ackerman Toyota dealership on one corner. Now other businesses getting involved. Ackerman Toyota at Hampton, just north of Interstate 44. Ackerman Toyota, for life.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
When we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Those statements still ring today, do they not? And they serve as a torch leading us through some of this darkness we're in even now. Now, a lot of folks will tell you that they believe that what we have at this point is still the same things that we had back in the 60s. They're not. Do we still have some things that could be changed and made better? Yes. I'm always about making things better, but not at the expense of building better on lies and propagandizing our children and turning our children against each other because of the color of their skin. That was contrary to what Martin Luther King was saying then. There is, of course, no way to know officially what he would say about today's so-called CRT teaching, critical race theory, and the 1619 Project, which claimed America was founded simply for slavery. They can't be that stupid, can they really? The Bible tells you story after story of slavery, and every religion knows about story after story of slavery, conquering armies, turning anyone they took over into slaves, assimilating them or executing or both. But right now, we just have a push to say everything has to be related to race. Every wrong can be righted if there's reparations. When even many black leaders, I'm sorry, I guess they wouldn't be considered black since they happen to be on the either conservative or independent side, not under the D label, that say that nobody here had anything to do with slavery then. That's not going to make things up. And for those out there that are so concerned about reparations for that, where the hell are you when it comes to corporate America or your sports teams, in particular the NBA, accepting whatever they can get with China because green is the best color? Uyghur Muslims. Now, I'm Christian. We would have a difference in our religion, but that doesn't mean you have to dislike someone, does it? I have relatives, very few, but I have one in particular. Well, let me put it this way. I have a sister who's absolutely anti-Trump, and she was more conservative, but she has, as my brother says, she's gone more to the other side. So that's okay. Well, she's entitled to do that. But I'm not going to lose a relationship with my sister because of politics. I have some very good friends. I count them as true friends. If I needed something, they would be there for me. And they think this program and everything I say is a bunch of BS. They're entitled to it. A lot of folks out there that might have the same thought as well. As you know, we are now broadcasting. In case you hadn't heard, we are doing live on YouTube, even as I speak. And we're going to try to do that on a more often basis. But I want to take you back to something before I continue more with Martin Luther King in a moment and the value of this day. Because King was against hate. He was against peace. And yet, when we had this crime go down in Texas the other day, the man in the synagogue taking the rabbi and other members of his congregation hostage for up to 10 hours, the FBI wanted to take the mild milquetoast approach that, well, we don't really know that this is related to a hate crime, or didn't say anything specifically about Jews, and it's not necessarily terrorists. You take anybody hostage and you hold them for a period of time, you're certainly a criminal. And if there's some political background for it, which there was in this case, because he wanted a woman freed, a Palestinian anti-Semite, then you've got political hate. But when I put that up over the weekend, and I was so distressed to put it up on Twitter and my Facebook accounts, Larry Connors USA Facebook, also my personal Larry Connors USA Facebook. And again, we've been mentioning it throughout this program. I want to read some quotes that came in after I put them up over the weekend. What I said, when politics excuses a hate crime. And I pointed out, as I said in the first hour, I know many FBI agents, thousands and more men and women in the same mode of the agents I know and respect. Yet there's not one declaring that the Texas synagogue attack was a hate crime. Of course it was. In fact, suggesting the motive was not, quote, specifically related to the Jewish community. And as I said, he went past various Catholic, Protestant, Muslim, and other religious sites before he came to the Jewish congregation. And I labeled the FBI at that point, and this is not for all my friends that I respect in the FBI, but I labeled the FBI at that point, foolish Biden idiots. Response coming in, Kathy said, what you said, Larry. Thank you, Kathy. Ben said, right, with 5 thumbs up, Vance. And Jim said, 100% right. Let's go, Brandon. Alita Hirsch said, yes, this is exactly what I was saying. I hardly heard anything on the news media. I even posted about the lack of coverage, and I know now why. And there were others. One said this is very key because I want to get to this next soundbite of MLK. She said, you take the 10 Commandments, the Bible, prayer. You take the 10 Commandments, the Bible, prayer, and the pledge out of schools, then a generation grows up to hate and be angry. Let's go back to Martin Luther King.
I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners may be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today.
That was a dream. It wasn't a divisive movement. It was to bring everyone together. That was a powerful speech. And then you have another one he gave.
Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
That speech was given by Martin Luther King in Memphis, Tennessee on April 3rd, 1968. The following day, he was assassinated.
You can hear podcasts of this program at Larry Connors USA Facebook. Larry Connors USA Facebook.
Okay, we are running a car drive right now to help veterans all across America. So if you have an old car, truck, or van, even a motorcycle or an RV sitting around, you can right now give it away and help the vets. They really need your help. And your car will help support the vets and their families. And guess what? You even get a tax donation. Plus, we'll even come and pick up your car for free. And all you've got to do is pick up your phone right now and make a free call. Now is the perfect time to do something good for the vets. Give back to the vets right now for all they've done for this country. And your old car can really help them. So call the Veterans Car Donation Program right now for free pickup of your vehicle. Help the vets and help your taxes at the same time. Call right now.
800-887-1097. 800-887-1097. 800-887-1097. That's 800-887-1097.
All right, everybody in the car. Let's go.
What are we going to do first when we get there, Mom? Go for a hike?
Sure, if you want.
What about canoeing? Can we go canoeing too?
I don't see why.
What about a bike ride? No, I want to fish.
Okay.
I've never been fishing.
Honey, we can do it all.
How long does it take to get to the forest?
It's not.
Is it going to be long?
No, sweetie.
I bet it takes forever.
It's not that far.
Are we there yet?
Yep, we're here.
Already? No way. Come on.
It's a short drive from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a neighborhood park or green space near you. Also, find fun activities to do like boating and biking or camping and hiking, plus much more. It's all right in your naturehood. A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
There is another part of Martin Luther King's I Had a Dream, and I may not get there on the mountaintop with you, but I've looked over the mountaintop, and I've seen what's coming. Time magazine just decided to reprint a part of that, an excerpt from a speech he gave at a later point. It would have been in 1967. And it points out about, he said, I want to use as a title for my lecture tonight, The Other America. And he goes through the various things that he has seen happen with thousands of people deprived of opportunity to get an adequate education. And yes, that was happening. Not because they were dumb, he said, not because they didn't have the native intelligence, but because the schools are so inadequate, so overcrowded, so devoid of quality, so segregated, if you will, that in the best of these minds can never come out. Yet there were obviously those who did. He knows that. But he just say that I think I must say tonight that a riot is the language of the unheard. And what is it America has failed to hear? He's not encouraging riot. He's just saying that that's what they will feel they have to do. He continued to preach and push for peaceful resistance, still demanding, but peaceful. He said we got to still see that it is wrong that people are behind because of the color of their skin, basically. And there were attacks on him as well, keep in mind. The FBI did pay tribute today to Martin Luther King, but a reminder that despite the FBI tweet that life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others today, from the FBI, there were wiretaps against MLK's residence, signed then by Attorney General Robert Kennedy, and ties to the Southern Christian Leadership Conference under the pretenses of investigating communism. You should remember that. And J. Edgar Hoover had called King, quote, the most notorious liar in the country. That was during a 1964 conference over King's criticism. And the FBI investigated King right up until his assassination in 1968. The FBI got weaponized against one man who dared speak out contrary to what the norm was at that point. Kind of like the norm being that you have to wear a mask, you have to be vaccinated, you speak out, they can weaponize the Attorney General's office after you and after parents. Democrat Party blasting the idea that parents should have a voice in what public schools teach. Let me repeat that again. In a Facebook post over the weekend, public education teaches kids what society, quote, needs them to know. You, your parents, you don't know what they need to know. Well, I might not be able to teach my child nuclear science, but I can teach them what they need to know to respect and honor other people and build your life on ethics. And ethics is something that you do when no one's watching. You don't do it for praise. You do it because it's the right thing to do. Let me go to Evangelist Alveda King, niece of Dr. Martin Luther King, founder of a pro-life organization, many black communities, many black members, even though abortions are the highest in the black community, and even though abortion was founded by the Planned Parenthood finder herself, I mean, it was to be eugenics, to weed out the undesirables. Blacks are those considered inferior. Alveda King says, I can honestly say to you that my uncle sought to be like Jesus Christ. Now, of course, he wasn't successful, she added, because he wasn't perfect. He was a human being. But my dad and my granddad and my uncle, they would all repent. They would ask for forgiveness. And they wanted to learn to forgive others as well. She added, with that type of attitude, they were able to give us examples, to be examples. And with my uncle, Martin Luther King Jr., was a very good example of how God loves and how God forgives. He walked those paths in his lifetime. He said, I was 17 when he was killed, and the very next year I was married. She said, yeah, I wrote a lot of great sermons, great books, great messages, but he actually did his best to live those examples that he spoke about and wrote about. That's a powerful legacy. Try to be more like Christ, forgiving. I don't have that heart. I'll have to admit there are times that, especially if it involves a crime against a child and viciousness, I don't have that kind of forgiveness in my heart. God does. And I am a sinner through and through. I could try to do better, but I'm still a sinner. And I love the passage in the Bible when it points out that I came not for justice, but for mercy. Remember our pledge, which Dr. Martin Luther King would be glad to recite. Our pledge, one nation under God.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
This is KXEN St. Louis, operating at 1010 AM and K264CY at 100.7 FM.